All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this great land. So what we're doing today is I'm going to show you what I do to prep a brisket. And so what I'm doing first is I'm getting my injection ready because I'm going to get messy with my hands and everything. We want to get this done ahead of time. So if you're from Texas, you probably want to turn this video off because everyone from Texas will hate what I'm doing here because you think I'm going to be butchering this brisket. But if you're from Kansas City and everybody else not in Texas, you're going to probably love this method. So this is what I do for competitions. This is what I do for my friends and my family, and they love it. So what I'm doing, and I've got about a 12-pound brisket that we're going to trim down here in just a second, but I'm getting my injection ready first. What I've done is I love using Cosmos brand for brisket, and I use 3 different injections here. I use the Smokehouse Reserve Blend, I use the regular Reserve Blend, and I use Moisture Magic. What I do is I don't follow the instructions on here. What I do is I do 3 tablespoons of this, 2 tablespoons of this, and 2 tablespoons of this. And that is what is in my shaker here, okay? Then I'm gonna take my beef broth. I'm gonna pour it into my shaker. These shakers are really handy. You can buy them anywhere. Walmart, Target. Get your lid on here real tight. Ooh, make sure you get it on tight. Make sure that's snapped down good. And give it a little shake when it's shaken and not stirred, right? Like James Bond. So we'll come back and shake more of that later, but just give it a good shake, and it doesn't take too much. And this brisket is not very big. It actually was cut in half by the butcher, so this might be more injection than we need, but if we don't use all of it, we'll save it. I'm going to show you my rubs I'm going to do next. So when we're ready to put the rubs on, I'm just going to go with it. Hold your breath here. I use 6 rubs on my brisket, okay? First thing I do, Killer Hogs, the AP rub. So this is Malcolm Reed's rub. You can check him out on YouTube. It's All Things Barbecue. No, wait, that's the guy in Wichita. Malcolm Reed is How to Barbecue Right. I'm sorry, I butchered that. Anyway, Killer Hogs is his team name. Malcolm Reed is a heck of a nice guy. He's responded to a couple of my emails. He probably doesn't remember me, but great YouTube channel. Be sure to check him out. But this is his all-purpose seasoning rub, the AP rub. I use it as a base on my brisket. The next rub I will use is these 2 right here. Cash Cow. So this is Big Papa Smoker Cash Cow, and then True Bud, the General. I'll put a layer of each of those next. Then I will put a layer of Texas Beef, Cosmos, a layer of cow cover, and then the coupe de la creme. Okay, this says Texas Beef. It's not really Texas Beef. That's the can I use. This is Eat Barbecue's most powerful stuff, okay? I buy this by the bag. I use a ton of this. This is fantastic on briskets, fantastic on everything. It's got a bit of a kick to it, but in the finished product, you won't notice it. Well, you will notice it, but it's not like it's like super spicy or anything. Okay, so got my injection ready here. We showed you my rubs. We're gonna do those in just a second. So I got my cutting board here, got my placemats, or I got my potholes underneath it so this thing doesn't move around on the granite countertop. We're gonna get the brisket. I have it sitting over here in a heavy-duty trash stack. So this is for a friend of mine. He brought this to me today. I'm going to cook it up tomorrow, but we're going to prep it tonight. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So he went to his butcher and said, I need a 12-pound brisket. So what he should have told him is, just give me a whole brisket. So what they did is they took a whole brisket and they cut it in half, which is not what you want to do. You don't want to do that. It just pains me to see that. But we'll still be able to cook this. it's going to be a little different, but we're going to trim it up here. So again, you know what? I just used this knife not long ago. Gotta find my handy dandy knife sharpener. Don't know where it is. Don't know. Well, I guess we'll just have to go with what we got here. I don't know where my knife sharpener is. Not in its usual spot. Okay, so if the cameraman, if you want to get, or camera girl, wants to come in here and look at this, I'm going to show a little bit of this texture. Again, you're not going to see many briskets like this. This is really hard fat. This is never going to render out when you're cooking it. All this gray stuff, we're going to trim most of this off. This big chunk here, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to cook this as one piece. This is such a weird, I did such a weird job with this. I don't even know what side of the brisket this is. This is so weird. Looks like they cut it right. Oh, they did. They cut it right in the middle like that instead of that other direction. This is the flat. Here's the point. You can see the fat vein running. You can see where it separates there. Unbelievable. I can't believe they did that. But we're going to have a little adventure here. I've never trimmed a brisket before that was cut in half like this. But we'll just, we'll do it together here. First thing, like I said, you just want to take off all of this really thick stuff. Whenever you start seeing red, you want to adjust your knife. Look at that. It's all just white fat. You don't need it. We're going to cut that off there too. Some people will leave this on. I don't understand why. But again, at the end of the day, everybody does it just a little differently.
Question, what is that?
So this is just discoloration of the meat. It's where air gets into it and it turns it a little gray. Huh. It doesn't really affect anything, but it's not the best texture, so we're just going to cut it off. Going to trim this edge here. Trim that down. We cut some meat off there, but it's okay. Now we're going to get into this fat cap here. I removed most of my fat from a brisket. The fat in between the muscle fibers is sufficient enough to baste it. You want to take the rest of it off. Some people will leave a 1/4 inch of fat on the bottom side because they like that texture. You know, if you go to Malcolm Reed's page, you know, the How to Barbecue Right, or you go to All Things Barbecue with Chef Tom, you know, they'll tell you to leave a 1/4 inch on there. Now, you know, especially Chef Tom, he'll tell you to do what you think is the best thing for you. He always encourages you to do what you think is right. And I do the same thing. Me personally, I like to take this fat off. I don't like biting into that 1/4 inch of fat when I take a bite of brisket. Just me personally, that's what I don't enjoy. But some people do enjoy that texture, and I can understand that. So I cut in some red there, so I'm just readjusting my knife. Again, this is not going to be the best video to watch if you want to do a whole brisket. This is really bizarre. I can't believe. I told my buddy today when he dropped this off, I said, yeah, maybe next time ask him to just give you a whole brisket and we'll trim it down to 12 pounds. Because asking for 12 pounds we're really going to trim another 3 pounds off of it, 2 pounds, because you're getting a lot of fat. I can't believe they did that. Okay, we're gonna come in here and just take off this nasty discoloration. All right, that's pretty good. We can leave that on there. We can work with that. So normally what I would do is separate the point from the flat. And I don't know why this would be any different. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to cut this into 2 different pieces. Now, this will actually be a little easier because we can follow the fat. We're going to get down into it here. I'm going to start separating it. Now, you don't have to do this. You don't have to separate the point from the flat. The flat's where you're going to get your good slices from. The point is where you're going to get your burnt ends. Those lovely, delectable burnt ends. It's going to want to pull apart as it is. Some people will leave this on to the entire cook. Some people will separate it halfway through the cook. It's an intimidating thing to do, to separate these 2 pieces, these 2 muscles. So I understand why people are sometimes hesitant. You just want to follow the fat lines. You can kind of see where it wants to pull apart. Let the knife do most of the work. I'm going to come up here, we're going to just come down here. You can't see this fat on the other side, but I'm all right, let's see, how are we going to do this? Let's come in here. This is our flat. So we will get some slices, good slices out of here tomorrow after we cook it. And I'm just going to keep peeling this back. Again, I'm only cutting into fat. See? And there's the edge. Now we have our 2 pieces of meat. This is our point. This is where we can get our this is our point. We get our burnt ends. We're going to get some. Oh, wait a second, did I get that backwards? This is the flat. This is the point. This thing is, see, I'm all confused. This is what happens when I'm cutting a weird piece of meat that's not standard from what I'm used to cutting. I get confused on what I'm cutting into. Get this hard fat off here. We don't need that. This is most definitely the point. Yeah, this is the point. This is where we get our burnt ends. So we're not going to actually get a ton of slices out of this thing. I hope my buddy didn't pay a whole lot of money for this. Yeah, whatever it is, it'll be good. He just won't be able to feed very many people. He'll be able to feed his family. After the cook takes a few samples for himself. And his little girl. His little girl, the camera woman.
Yes.
I don't think he'll mind. He's a good guy. Again, we're just cutting off this really hard fat. the trick or the key to identifying the fat you want to get rid of on a brisket, if it's hard, I mean like really hard, like this right here, when I push my finger in this, I mean it feels like there's a solid block of wood underneath that. You're going to want to cut that out. If it's squishy fat, you can leave it. That'll render out. Part of the problem with this thing is he paid for more fat than he did meat, I think. Well, it'll cook all the same. One of the problems going on right now in the world with forced closures of so many meat processing plants, the price of meat has gone up. So people are buying less because it costs more. So we need to get back to work. So we can get back to enjoying good parts of life that God intended us to enjoy. Work hard for what you do. Play hard. Love hard. That's what my daughter knows how to do. She does everything. Everything with a passion. Right, Marley?
I guess.
That's what you do. Everything you do it to the full. Cut this fat vein out here. Normally I wouldn't cut into the meat like this, but that's kind of a thick fat vein. I don't like how it's just sitting there. Most of that's okay. So again, the techniques is the same for anything that you're going to do for a larger brisket. Just again, you're going to want to cut the really thick, hard fat off. So there's our flat that we're going to cook tomorrow. Okay, that looks good. We're going to set that right here. Now we're going to clean up this point just a little bit. The point is where we get where you get your burn ends from. Now, if you go to the store and you go to your local grocery store, not like to a butcher or like the Sam's Club or Costco, and you buy a brisket, you're probably just buying the flat, which is what we just trimmed. The point has a lot more fat running in between the muscle fibers, and as soon as we get this trimmed up, I'll show you what I mean. You want to get rid of the stuff on the outside, though. That really, really hard stuff. All it's going to do is inhibit the cooking process. It's all fat. Don't need it. All right, there's still some. Okay, there's a big fat vein there, but I don't want to cut too much deeper into that. Okay, we're going to get rid of this right here. Okay, this is cleaned up to where I want it to be. So, I'll tell you what, let's trim off this discoloration part here. It's more for aesthetics purposes, but and then I'll remind my buddy to never have them cut a brisket in half ever again. Okay, there's your point. this is where we're going to get our burn ends from. Now, some people, what they'll do, they'll take this big hump here. So this is the end. So when I told you about the fat veins, look at the marbling here. It's hard to tell here, but the marbling, see, these are the muscle fibers. See how they're running this direction? You can see the fat running alongside the muscle fibers too. That's great marbling. You can see it here on the side. See the muscle, see the white in the middle of the red. The more that renders out, which means that as that fat melts, the more tender this meat's going to be, the more juicy it's going to be. Tomorrow when we cook it, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, when you probe this, you're not probing for temperature, you're probing for a tenderness. It should feel like you're sticking a probe into room temperature butter or really, really, really soft peanut butter. If it doesn't feel like that, it's not done, and it's not going to be tender enough. Now you could eat it, and it might still taste good, but it's not going to be tender. It's not going to be melt in your mouth. Let's do a little more cleanup here. This stuff. There we go. Okay, I've got this where I want it now. Let's take that off. Okay, I could pick at this for another hour if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Okay.
It would be 10 by then.
Oh, what I was going to mention earlier. Some people, what they'll do, this is they call it the skirt side, almost. Well, I call it the skirt side. Some people don't say that because a lot of times over the flat, it'll thin out. But this hunk here, sometimes people will cut them in here and they'll butterfly it, which means they'll take their knife this way and cut and just kind of roll it back. I don't do that because I like this bigger chunks because I end up making this out of I make medallions out of this. Okay, so there's our 2 cuts of meat. I'm gonna rinse my hands off here real quick, and we're gonna inject this puppy. Okay. My injector soaking here in some water after we cleaned it out, after we did our pork last time, so it's ready to go. So wet. Okay. What I do when I just use these very simple injectors, they last me a couple months and then they break. But I have better luck with them. I'd rather spend $2 buying these. I spray it with vegetable oil so it goes in and out really easily. Here, I'll use that in just a second, sweetheart.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're gonna get rid of this cutting board. We don't need it. Get rid of our pot holders. All right, we're gonna let's give this another good shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your injection. If you could only see my daughter's face. She thinks I'm so silly. Okay, we're gonna inject first and then we're gonna rub. Normally, I would only rub one side of the flat. This is a little smaller piece of meat. I might end up rubbing both sides. We'll see. See how it looks. Okay. When you're injecting, get all that in there. You want to inject in a grid pattern. Okay. When you come in here, we're gonna start here. We're gonna go boom, 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 boom. Okay. It's not gonna take a ton. Come in here, probe around, make a little pocket. Just a little bit of injection, okay? Ease it out. Come in next to it. Make a pocket. And put the rest of this in there, okay? Nice and easy out. I like to inject in these pans so in case any of it comes out, it doesn't go all over the countertop. we're going to make a pocket. Yeah, so that one is pretty porous there, so we're going to come in from this side. Actually, we're going to come in over here. Okay. This is just not, this is a pretty porous piece of meat. Kind of see it ballooning up there a little bit. This injection doesn't want to stay in here too well right now, which is fine. We'll get enough of it in there. This will probably be the last, probably just 3, so probably just 100 milliliters, 90 to 100 milliliters. We're going to put in this one. Again, this is not a super big brisket. It's hard for me to go in a grid pattern down here since it's just very, very small. That one took good. We're going to go one more. Actually, they can take one more. Kind of a thinner piece down here. I'm going to come in here. Just kind of. See, it's really coming out here. Definitely can't hold anymore. It's got quite a bit of injection in it. I didn't put a ton in it, but this is not a very big piece of meat. Okay, before we try and decide, yeah, I'll go ahead and put this one in here. I could put them in the same, but I'm not going to. Now, this is a point of controversy. Yeah, not controversy. Maybe more discussion. Do you inject the point? Most people say no. I say, why not? You're just adding more flavor. You're just adding more flavor. And this big mound here, I put the entire deal into that one spot. Okay, now come in here. Again, you don't have to inject the point. It's got so much fat in between the muscle fibers, it doesn't really need it. But again, my point is, why not inject it? You're not gonna. The whole point of injecting is to add flavor and moisture to the meat, you know, just to help it stay tender during the cooking process. Okay, we're going to add a little more. Woo! Watch out. It's squirting out there.
I think it squirted into the pan, not
Yeah,
my shirt.
it got right here. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, when we put our rub on, a lot of people will say you want to use a binder for the rub so it really sticks to the meat. Since we just injected, we don't need a binder. The binder's already on the meat. The liquid's already there. Okay, killer hogs. Cash cow. True bud. Cow cover. Texas beef. And the most powerful stuff. Again, it says Texas beef again, but you can obviously tell that's the actual Texas beef. That's not Texas beef. See, it's a different color. I just repurposed that to put the most powerful stuff in there. Okay. We're going to do both at the same time. Okay. Since we're putting 6 on here, we just want a light coating of each. Okay, that's our first one. Now we're going to go, and we are going to do, at least on the point, we're definitely going to do both sides. We'll probably end up just doing one side of the flat, because that's typically what I do, so it's not super salty. True Bud is very coarse. I don't use a ton of this. This is mostly just for texture. Let's see, not too much. Cow Cover is mostly used for color. It's got a nice red. Again, I don't go too heavy on this. Texas beef is very, very fine. It's got some nice salt and garlic, and a little sweet to it as well. Very smoky salt. And then the most powerful stuff. And the most powerful stuff, I'm going to make sure you get a good layer of that. Okay. Oh, I should move this out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna let these sit. I'm gonna end up I'm gonna do the other side of the point, but I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna let that rub really tack up on the meat and soak in, so it gets a nice, real wet texture to it. Then I'm gonna wrap it in foil and put it in the fridge, and we're gonna smoke tomorrow. So I want to thank you very much for watching this video, for watching me work with a brisket that was cut in half to start with. So a little adventure for all of us. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave me a comment in the section below. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.